What's up, everyone? Happy Friday. They got my brother out in Serbia doing a fight night. A little too hot for you coming in? Well, you're on mute, so I guess I'm hot and you're on mute, right? That's hilarious. But what do they got you in Serbia doing a fight night, cuzzy?
Oh, it is great to be here. It's okay to be here, actually. No, it's great to be here. They got creamy peanut butter Snickers, which I don't believe they have in the United States. So that was a little delicious pre-Ask Me Anything offering. But yeah, so we're here in Belgrade. They call my number, I show up. We're very excited to be here. I'm very excited to answer your questions and hang out with you folks for the next 35 plus minutes or so. I have been told, and I'm going to a nice dinner in Belgrade tonight, so I'll have more to report on the back end on the Anik and Florian podcast. But I've been told that this might be the greatest fight crowd that I ever experienced because the NBA crowds in this Belgrade arena and other live sporting event crowds are so crazy that this is supposed to be a sight to behold. And as you know, Jay, I've been rooting for chaos and a lot of that in-arena stuff for a while, so we're excited.
Yeah, well, sorry I came in too hot. So appreciate y'all being with us. We're doing these every week. Ask Jon Anik anything. And we're giving out fighter cards, right? So the best question, not the best compliment of Jon like last week, but the best question will receive this Alexander Volkanovski fighter card from UFC 298. The ones from last week already went out. So best question we get, some really good questions last week. Best question we get, we'll get that card. I have some other cards here too that we're going to give out. I got Mackenzie Dern for next week, Sean Strickland, Anthony Smith. I don't know if we'll give out that one this week. Kennedy and Nzechukwu, Tatiana Suarez, Gilbert Burns. I get so many cards here, buddy. But
well,
anyway,
there are people who don't even know what you're talking about. So for those of you joining us today, and we appreciate you on the Anik Bros YouTube channel for checking out this Ask Me Anything. So what Jay has in hand are my used fighter cards, and I make a new one for every fighter for every fight. It's sort of my way of studying. But right now we got Daniel Rodriguez and Udo Šmedić. These are the cards that I will be going to the octagon with tomorrow. But then when these two gentlemen fight again, these cards will end up in the hands of fans. So that's what we're doing here. And yeah, just a cool souvenir and something that has been on the octagon. Some of these actually have blood on the back. So yeah, it's all systems go, but we're excited to sort of give back to the people that give so much to us in terms of the love and support.
I love it. Well, appreciate all the support. I have a couple before we drop some of the questions on your screen. I just have a couple questions. You may have seen them on your Instagram, but they're from my good friend, Andy Gresh, longtime Boston radio personality. He and I used to host a show together, and I thought that I had given him some information before he got these questions, but I just got to go here, right? He's like, Jon, have you ever snagged a piece of Joe Rogan's beef jerky that's always on the broadcast table? And I was like, anyway, answer that.
So he brings Daniel Cormier a bag of carnivore snacks just for Daniel, right? So Joe brings 2 bags of carnivore snacks, one for himself and one for Daniel. He's offered it to me, but I don't eat any food during those 8 hours. There was one time I had a banana because I thought it would be a good idea from a mental agility standpoint to fast on the day of a pay-per-view to see if it would give me added mental clarity. And for a while, it did until it didn't. And then I needed some potassium and a banana in the worst way. But yeah, those carnivore snacks are running hot in the broadcast booth every week. Thoughtful question, Gresh. Too bad they gassed your show with Jay.
So at one point you purchased some of these carnivore snacks or some type for Joe and DC, and you tried some of them. And I believe you said something to me about like, you felt like it was like eating a cow. That's what I was, right? Like you've tried some of these that were a little too organic, if you will.
Yeah, I bought those guys some Lineage, and it just felt like I was eating like beef tartare, which is not my thing.
So another one from Gresh, which I just have to ask.
Why is Gresh getting too off the top? I mean, what was inside baseball?
Well, Gresh isn't getting a fighter card, but I thought, he's asking which way does the toilet water swirl when you flush? Does it go the other way like Australia? And I'm like, what? The toilet water swirl? I assume you don't notice any of that.
I notice a lot of things, I guess, when I'm traveling internationally. This week, I didn't bring my razor. I didn't bring my credential. I forgot my international adapter.
Wow.
But, Gresh, I got 28 fighters to learn, not to mention more writing for television than any play-by-play announcer in the nation. So we don't have time to assess the swirling direction of the toilet water. Thank you next, right? As Ariana Grande would say, thank you next.
Once you flush, you got to get right out of there. So a little espresso martini during the day yesterday, right?
I don't know what time I had the martini yesterday. Here's the deal. There are a lot of different ways you can attack the jet lag in Europe, and this shouldn't register as a complaint, but the evolution of it for me, when I have the chance to sleep and I am in my room, right, there's always prep that I have to do. The hay is not in the barn as I sit here 7 p.m. the night before the show. But if I am in my room and I am tired, I sleep. So to give you an idea, yesterday, I think I slept from 3:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. And then I was up until 3 a.m. And then I slept from 3 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. before the ceremonial weigh-in. But like this week, I listened to my body. Like I didn't fucking go for a run before the ceremony, before the official weigh-in this morning, because I've just been a little bit off.
So the questions are starting to pile up. Anyone who's live on Instagram, if you want your question read, seen, or considered for the Alexander Volkanovski fighter card, jump over to YouTube. Don't be afraid to subscribe. We just started this YouTube channel. We'd appreciate the love and support. But
that's right. We're live on Instagram tonight.
We are live on Instagram tonight. Put it in the hands of the capable Mike Jones in the back. But anyway, the questions are coming from YouTube. So that's where we're pulling from. And without further ado, I think we should get started with some of these questions. So if you're ready,
we'll be giving some of these fighter cards away to subscribers of the Anik Bros YouTube channel as well. Fire away.
And before I read this question from the great Dixon Sider, I'm going to say Dixon,
what?
Right?
Don't call him.
Is it the handle
anymore? Just call him Dixon.
Dixon. So
I'm not
Dixon,
doing that every week.
But Dixon's as good a supporter as anyone. So Dixon, slide up in my direct messages because I'm sending you a fighter card. No, Dixon's getting a fighter card.
No, you just use the fucking verb slide, right? This dude's handle is Dixon Sider, right? These people try to get Michael Bisping to say things like this on the air, and then you're using the verb slide. I mean, you can't even make it up.
John, would you consider doing some horsing around if the Jokic brothers invited you to go hang out on the racetrack with them? Have you ever been on a horse? Have you ever fallen off or raced a horse?
So the answer is yes. My twin brother, my monozygotic identical twin brother who's running this here, Ask Me Anything tonight, is like deathly, fatally allergic to horses. So we don't go near horses, but certainly if the Jokic brothers were to invite me on that endeavor, the answer would be yes. And I'd take a fucking Zyrtec.
Do you expect them to be at the event?
I kind of feel like I would have known if they were going to be here, but I'm still hopeful.
I'm embarrassed. Is it Jokic or Jokic? I should know how to pronounce it. I said Jokic. I think it's a Y. Anyway.
Novak Djokovic going to be in the building. Could you imagine if Novak Djokovic was octagon side? Woo!
Right? Did hear a nice pop from my guy, Milos Janicic. So Patrick.
Biggest pop of the day.
Hi, John. Big greetings from Croatia. I'm traveling tomorrow for Belgrade. My question is, which fight do you look most forward to, and how are you feeling in Serbia?
So I feel pretty good. I wasn't feeling great, and I was able to sort of manipulate the sleep pattern. I feel great. It's great to be here. If you missed the beginning of the chat, I was suggestive that I have colleagues telling me that this might be the best live crowd that I have ever experienced. I've been traveling with the UFC for 15 years. Paris, France is ubiquitously regarded, I think, by UFC staffers as the most festive crowd they have experienced. We haven't done a numbered event there, so I have not experienced that. I'm very excited for the crowd. I didn't know the gravity of the Croatia versus Serbia rivalry, so I'm excited for some of that maybe in the future with some Croatian fighters fighting Serbian fighters. As for the fight that I'm most excited about, when you talk to me on the eve of a card like this, I'm excited about probably 13 of the 14 fights, right? Is that an honest answer? But I'll say Oban Elliott taking on the undefeated Michael Oliveira certainly is a fight that jumps off the card. Tafik Musayev and Jay's guy Ludovic Klein in the featured prelim.
I know.
Oftentimes when I'm asked a question like that, I go prelims because the main card is objectively fantastic. I guess my thesis statement on the card is that we have so many fighters, right, who are knockout artists or lead the league in like shortest average fight time. Real quick, like Udo Šmedić, second shortest average fight time in UFC welterweight history. His fights average 3 minutes and 59 seconds, right? We have 9 UFC newcomers, and a lot of them never see a second round, you know? So I'm excited for Vlasto Velasco Chepo, excuse me. But a lot of these new fighters, I think, deserve to be in the UFC. I mean, you bow from the fucking altar of Milos Janicic, who makes his UFC debut. But there are a lot of fighters who I think are UFC worthy. Alexander Popek, who lost to Jamal Hill on Dana White's Contender Series back in 2019.
Wow.
He's a light heavyweight, making his UFC debut up at heavyweight. He weighed 215 pounds, and he's fighting Jovan Leka, who I'm excited about as well. So all you can handle, bro. We're pumped.
Good stuff there. Keep dropping the questions on the Anik Bros YouTube channel. We'd love a subscription there too, if you don't mind. And get creative with these questions. Some real creative questions got the hardware last week from Walnut MMA. Since this main event includes two bald men, and you're a bald man yourself, I feel like you're the perfect person to ask. Who are your pound for pound greatest bald UFC fighters of all time?
I like the rapper Alexander Yakovlev. Shout out to Yakovlev. Chris Lytle. Great bald fighter. I mean, I loved when John Jones and Rampage Jackson went bald. But, a lot of us aren't bald, true to the definition. I'll just show y'all right fucking now. There, I don't even have to do it, right? That's my monozygotic identical twin brother. We basically have the same DNA, but because I didn't shave my head today, I'll show you folks.
Yeah, look at that hairline. Any questions?
I wish I didn't have a full head of hair because the maintenance on this thing, having to give myself a skin fade every couple days is tough. But pound for pound greatest bald UFC fighters of all time. Shout out, of course, to the boss man, Dana White. Bald fighters. Who am I?
Well, Daniel Cormier, I have to inject that name because he's definitely not having a full head of hair right now. But you always talk about him in all these greatest of all time conversations and double champ stuff, right? A little love for your boy, maybe?
Daniel Cormier and Aljamain Sterling are two underappreciated guys historically, especially when it comes to American fighters. But yeah, I've talked at length about how DC doesn't get the respect he deserves in terms of Mount Rushmore or being maybe one of the top 5 or 6 greatest mixed martial arts athletes of all time. I'm curious sometimes how people compare DC to, Randy Couture, Khabib Nurmagomedov, right? Like some people don't put Khabib on the Mount Rushmore of the best mixed martial arts fighters of all time because he only successfully defended the title 3 times and maybe didn't stick around as long as people would have liked, right? I feel like for most people, George St. Pierre and Demetrius Johnson are half the Mount Rushmore because they were squeaky clean in addition to everything else they did. If Anderson Silva and John Jones were transgression free, then I think that's your big 4: Anderson Silva, John Jones, George St. Pierre, and Demetrius Johnson, right? But where does Daniel Cormier stack up in that mix? Simultaneous double champ at light heavy and heavy. I don't know. I just don't think his legacy is, I don't know. I think they put out a list of like the greatest American mixed martial arts athletes of all time, and maybe he was 7. I hope I'm wrong on that. But yeah, I mean, DC and I are like a married couple, we fight, we love, but let's acknowledge the man's body of work.
Keep it moving. Before I put up the next question, so the Snickers, where you just take a bite, right? You're trying to fit in your suit, right? Are you cutting weight?
No, it's
like, just a little nibble? Just a little nibble?
2 pieces. Dick fuck.
Elijah Dr. 34M, who is one fighter whose fight you would have loved to call and never got to? Great question. Also, is there one fighter who you wished you got to see in the UFC but never did?
Ronda Rousey is the fighter whose fight I never got to call. I spent a lot of time with Ronda. I got to interview her any number of different times, but I never got the chance to call a Ronda Rousey fight. I was very thankful to get a chance to call the George St. Pierre comeback fight, but I don't believe I called more than 1 or 2 of his fights. And then one fighter who I wished I got to see in the UFC but never did, well, certainly Fedor Emelianenko. I was disappointed the way Paul Daly's UFC career ended, him punching Josh Koscheck and never getting back to the UFC. I was disappointed in the way it ended for Miguel Torres, but yeah, certainly Fedor I would have loved to have seen in the UFC. And Mamed Khalidov, shout out to the Polish fighter Mamed Khalidov as well.
That may be the leader in the clubhouse so far from Gangster MMA. John, you're on the calls from the commentary booth has echoed through MMA history. How do you find yourself consistently putting yourself in position for these types of calls? Example, Leon Edwards, DC.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I think other people are putting me in this position to succeed. I mean, certainly I've worked very hard, but the bosses are giving me this microphone to capture these championship moments and provide the soundtrack for the biggest fights in UFC history. And I think part of it is that I don't really go in with any thought process about what I'm going to say, right? I got stopped by a fan in Serbia today, and he's like, hey, can you, and I'm like, what? You want a catchphrase? I don't fucking have it. What? Can I shout? And I was like, I'm saving my voice. I probably scared the fuck out of him. But, I don't have it's time. It's nice that I don't. So when I get stopped, I don't have to fucking shout it. But no, I want every championship call to be its own entity. And so, yeah, I mean, I think I treat my body right for the most part on show day, and I lead the league in room service charges because I'm in my room prepping the whole week. It's very rare that I would go out for dinner on a Friday night, which is what we're doing tonight. But no, I think the preparation is really what leads the dance.
So one that always sticks out for me is Jan Blachowicz, Poland, your guy, got it done. That completely organic, right? As they all are, right? You've elaborated on that call in the past.
Yeah, I think the call I'm probably most proud of is the Ilia Topuria knockout of Charles Oliveira, because not one time did I think before that fight ended to say a man of his word, and it all happened so quickly, and he knocks him out. And the way I inflected, I was just very proud of the way that was delivered. He celebrated the win the night before, and we capped the knockout by screaming a man of his word. But yeah, it can be as simple as 5 words. Poland, your guy, got it done. That might be
a good transition there. Man of his word from story of the fight. What is the boldest prediction you've ever heard in the fighter meetings that came true?
That's a tough one. I could share some bold predictions from the fighter meetings, I guess, this week. I thought there was an interesting line from Milos Janicic's opponent, Noah Gugnon, who said, yeah, he's a famous star here. I don't care. So, right. But that's a great question.
It is.
But it's, for me, that's a really hard one to either. Nothing really stands out. And I would say, I guess, thematically, nobody's coming in there for the most part and trying. It's a very unique setting. I think maybe you would get that more on media day, but very rarely, I mean, Ian Machado Gary comes in, fucking sits down on the table, we'll be like, all right, Ian, thank you very much. Next fighter's on deck. And he's like, no, I'm not done. I love Ian. But yeah.
From Travis Grither, 3258, John, enjoy when you make guest appearances on other pods, especially enjoyed your chat with Ariel. My two worlds collide when you and Russillo sync. I hear you. Can you share a story from your days with Ryan Russillo?
So Ryan Russillo, if you don't know, hosts the Ryan Russillo Show as part of the Barstool Sports family on Netflix, and he is one of my best friends in the industry, the greatest NBA insider for my money of all time, a man who really taught me a lot about hard work, but he's the guy that I go back the furthest with in this industry. I have so many stories. I don't know how many are fit for air. I can tell you, it's his fault that I ended up in the back of a cop car in Jacksonville, Florida, covering the Super Bowl in 2005. And I've only been in the back of a cop car that one time, I believe.
No license. You hit a parked cop car.
Sorry.
But yeah, I have lots of stories. I just remember the way he would prepare, his lack of care for the environment with how many pages he would print every day, just to read every possible thing he could get his hands on. And, the way he would challenge other people. And truly, I think he's like Frank Sinatra, did it his way and made it to the top. So, but a lot of the stories I think are unshareable. I'd have to clear them with the boss man first.
So I know you got a hard out coming up here in about 10 or 15. So I'm going to get through some of these. Appreciate y'all being with us. Please subscribe to the Anik Brothers YouTube channel. A lot of behind the scenes stuff coming out. We will be live in Philadelphia doing all sorts of shenanigans coming there from Lock Stock MMA. You guys look so similar. Do you ever swap places?
You think we've ever been asked if we swap places before? Hey, you guys ever fool your teachers or fool your girlfriends? No. I mean, we would mess with our mother quite a bit. Hi, Mom, if you're watching. But yeah, I just say when there was no caller ID back in the day, so we could really mess with our mother with our voices over the phone. But yeah, I don't know that we've ever really swapped places, Jay, have we?
No, but I mean, people are fooled constantly when we're together. My wife is still could be gotten, which is just incredible. All right. At Papa Unk, John, at any point in your life, did you want to be a combat sport athlete? How would you fare against other media figures such as Brendan Fitzgerald in jiu-jitsu? Thanks.
I'd rather fight him with striking, but
yeah, you're not a big jiu-jitsu guy.
How do I? Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I think early on in my UFC career as a commentator, I wanted to take an amateur fight, and I still might throw on some headgear and fucking punch Jason in the face, but jiu-jitsu is the furthest thing from the gentle art. It's a major injury waiting to happen, so I would never do grappling. I'd rather the concussion. And yeah, I could cut down to 126 pounds, believe it or not.
So this may be the best question coming up. I don't know if it's from the real article, but at Dylan Dennis, who wins, me or Mike Perry? I don't know if that's the man. If that is the man, that is incredible. But great question. You know, I got a lot of love for Mike Perry from my dirty boxing days. Go ahead.
That's a really difficult question, especially considering the source, right? I had one interaction with Dylan Dennis. It was exceedingly positive, and I just think he's good for combat sports. I really do. I just feel like I want to see him in the UFC. I want to see him on the biggest stages, and obviously there's a big stage against Platinum Mike Perry, but let's be clear, this is not white gold. This is platinum, and I think it's a stern test for Mr. Dylan Dennis. I love that the fight is happening. Obviously, I go way back with Platinum Mike Perry, but can I say may the best man win? Is that all right? I'm sitting on the fucking fence.
Styles make fights, so that one's going to be interesting. At the Gambler 44 for real, have you ever accidentally said something on air that made you think, well, I'm getting a text after this?
Not necessarily that I'm getting a text after this, but that, man, I wish I could have that one back, right? I don't know why I decided in a non-podcast format to share with the world that this time around, when Nina Ansaroff Nunez is pregnant, it's actually Amanda's eggs that are inside her. I don't know why I needed to share that with the world. But yeah, no, when you're on a headset 20 plus times a year, 8 hours a show, I have a lot of opportunities to upset a lot of different people, but hopefully those utterances are few and far between. But yeah, we've never had a perfect show, and we never will.
What advice from Senzo V204? What advice would you give a college student that wants to commentate for the UFC one day?
Well, you just got to gain as many repetitions as possible, even if you're launching a podcast on YouTube that nobody listens to except for your parents, right? If you commit to doing a show every Monday for a year, all of a sudden you will have 50 hours of work that you otherwise didn't have. And then when an opportunity potentially presents itself, you would be far more ready. There are a lot of times in life where maybe you get an opportunity and you wonder inwardly if you are ready for it. I got hired by Bellator Fighting Championships in 2009. And part of my inner monologue as a guy who had only called boxing was like, man, they got the wrong guy. I mean, yes, I accept Bjorn Rebney, but I was freaking out. I was much more nervous for Bellator 1 in 2009 than I was to call my first UFC Fight Night in January of 2012 because I had called mixed martial arts and had 3 more years of covering the sport. So you just got to put yourself in position to seize opportunities because you truly never know when they are going to come. I was sitting down, smoking a joint, whatever I was doing, and all of a sudden I get a fucking call from Bjorn Rebney asking me to call the Bellator promotional debut, 6 weeks later. So it was crazy.
And I went back and listened to that fairly recently and was pleasantly surprised at your performance. At Moneyball MMA, question, young Anik brothers are on a double blind date. One of the ladies is not so hot. What do each of you use as subterfuge against the other to get to get the hot woman? Fascinating question.
There are some women who are so unattractive that I'd probably rather kiss a dude, So when people are, I don't know about you, right? But like if you were to list criteria when you're looking for somebody of the opposite sex, right? Like looks is 1 or 2 for me. So Jay and I are so aligned that like we're not trying to, like we're probably both leaving if one of them is homelier than a stump.
That was inside my head right now. Jason, I shook your hand at DBX Houston. Bobby, nice to meet you again. My question is, at what age did you and John start working in the combat sports industry, and where do you see you two in 10 years? UFC 500, different answers for us both. But John, I guess you could say your start.
Yeah, I mean, I started doing updates on the New England Ringside Boxing Radio Show in 2003. And then I started hosting the Mouthpiece Boxing Radio Show in 2004. So 22 years ago, I was covering boxing, and then I covered my first MMA event. It was Elite XC1, Renzo Gracie versus Frank Shamrock in the main event. Gina Carano fought Julie Kedzie, many other stars that night. And that was in February of 2007. So I've been covering mixed martial arts almost 17 years.
All right, I'm going to get to a few more here, and then I think we're going to pick a winner and get you
Wait,
out of
Bobby
here.
wants to know where we're going to be in 10 years. Hopefully fucking teeing it high and not doing any of this bullshit, right? I mean,
That's hilarious.
I mean,
Well,
what are we doing here?
John should be teeing it high. I can't say the same for me, but I started, I just quickly, I ran a business down in South Florida. And when I sold that business at the end of 2020, John paired me up with Bilal Muhammad to do a podcast on the Anik and Florian podcast network. And really, it was just about getting repetitions. We did about 150 episodes, and some of the other questions that John has answered, it is all about repetitions. For me, that's everything. So just putting in as much work as I can. And, hopefully for me personally, I'm trying to potentially get a full-time gig and work more regularly in the industry. So we'll see what happens. All right. Toad B, has there ever been a fight where you had the perfect line ready, but it got canceled last minute and you never got to use it?
Well, it's not a line necessarily. And if you've been here for the whole chat, you heard me say that I don't pre-plan anything that I am going to say, especially when it comes to the fight ending calls. But there is so much that ends up on the cutting room floor in terms of information we have. And even if a fight goes the full 15 minutes, sometimes the action is so fastly paced or compelling that you can't even get these things in there. But I'm really not thinking about perfection or having the perfect line ready. Certainly, there are times where a fighter might have a really interesting story, and I'm just scanning my fighter cards right now, and I'll look down at my fighter card, right, and I will see a story, a humanizing story that doesn't necessarily have to do with fighting. And I will wonder in a split second, do I have enough time to tell this story? And I'll make a decision in probably a 2-second span if I'm going to lean into a story that might take me 12 seconds to tell. But yeah, no perfect line per se. Very thoughtful question, though. Toad.
A couple more before we get out of here. But, someone on Instagram wondering if your brother's bald too. That's why I took the hat off. Not bald. And if it was up to me, if we weren't twins, I would shave. I'm at the point in my life where I would like to shave my head as well, but I'm trying to be a little different.
I think that this makes me look tough. And by the way, I do have until 7:35 p.m. Serbia time.
G2, I guess it's squared. John, what music are you jamming before any UFC event?
I mean, I am all over the place. Basically, my playlist consists of songs that I can run on a treadmill too. Some of it might actually go as far to one side as country. I think it's mostly hip hop and rap. A lot of show tunes. Death Becomes Her is all over my playlist right now. The song Loser by Tame Impala, who I just saw live in Philly, is one that really gets me going on the old treadmill. But yeah, just stuff that gets me going. Tons of reggae. And
what I'll say, though, before any UFC event, most likely he's ingesting some film or using every possible minute, as you've said, in that hotel room. All right. Last question before we pick the best one from my man, Jake Knocker of Home of Fight fame. This is a good man right here. John, better looking brother.
So Jason has been regarded as the better looking twin. Thinner face, straighter, whiter teeth, better shoulder line. I think overall, I think we could find some women who would suggest otherwise, but yeah, I mean, I got to take the questions as they come in. And most of the time, Jay has been regarded as the former musical theater major as the better looking twin.
So I'm going to go through a couple of these questions here.
Thanks, Jake.
Yeah, good to see you, Jake. I'm just trying to figure out the best question of the day.
Well,
let's see. Forgive me.
That can be figured out.
No. We got to do it live.
I got 5 more minutes to actually take questions. But,
all right. Well, so this one may be the one here.
No, Russillo? No.
What about the young?
I love you. I love you, Travis. I love you, Travis. Nope, not Moneyball MMA. There was I was thinking we should reward an MMA fan for a particular. We've had a lot of thoughtful mixed martial arts questions, I feel like. So,
All right.
but
All right.
you guys can figure that out. Yeah, not the perfect line one. Keep it going. I don't mind if we just scan these real quick. Yeah, I think
this may be the one.
Yeah.
Elijah one, DR34M. Message me at Boston Anik on Instagram. If you're on that platform, get me your address. We will be in touch, and we will be sending you this Alexander Volkanovski fighter card from John's notes, his signature on the back there from UFC 298. We'll be giving away a Mackenzie Dern card next week, I believe, as we lead up to UFC 330. We are going to get out of here, John. Anything else you have from Serbia before we move along?
No, I just want to say, if there are people out there who are really dying to get their hands on these fighter cards, not to worry. We have hundreds of these things that we are ready to repurpose. And one of the coolest things I have at home, and it's alphabetized up until July of 2025. And then I fucking punt it because it's just so much, right? So I have an alphabetized fighter card library from, say, 2014 to 2025, and you could just say a random name from yesteryear, and there's a good chance that there's a fighter card in there. So I'd love to get to a point where Anik Brothers YouTube subscribers could actually request old fight cards, and we will figure all of that out. But rest assured, we want to get these in people's hands, and even if we have to figure out a way to get them on eBay or jonanik.com, we will figure it out. But I appreciate that people even give a modicum of a shit, because a lot of work obviously goes into these things. This is my Alexander Popek fight card. This dude weighed 215 pounds for a heavyweight fight. He's going to be a light heavyweight for his next fight. But yeah, he's the guy who fought Jamal Hill back in 2019. But thanks to everybody for being here. If you could do us a solid and subscribe to the Anik Brothers YouTube, Anik Bros YouTube channel, we'd appreciate the heck out of that. If you have any suggestions for these Ask Me Anythings that are going to keep on Cannonball coming every week, we are happy to solicit those as well.
Well, sleep well, brother. And we're excited here on the East Coast of the United States. I think this thing gets going about 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. So we'll be watching live. Good fight card. Some more chocolate in the room. Appreciate y'all being with us. Hit us up at the Anik Brothers YouTube channel if you're not there already. Much love for everybody. We will see you next week. Have a good one.